Lately, my favorite way of playing Cherry Bomb, my little red Strat clone, was with my palm. The chopping sound is so much fun. Guitar is a drum anyway. This is a wonderful treasure we have from the continent of Africa. We are looking aghast at the continent of Africa lately because of Ebola scare that's going on all over the United States right now. But the Africans perfected the drum in so many interesting ways. Banjo, guitar. We associate stringed instruments with bowed instruments like violins or bow or bass rather. But the plucked stringed instruments are drums. Using the meat of my palm to mute those strings is fun. I'm sure this is fascinating to you. Last week, when I screwed up church, I started off reading The Second Coming by William Butler Yeats, and I thought about doing that again today, particularly because we have a second coming of Ebola in Dallas. I may read it sometime soon because I like the poem, and I think it's a remarkable observation about the forces of modernity 100 years after it's written. Yeats was looking an alarm on the Easter Rebellion and World War I. How sad that we number these things. But not terribly much has changed since then. What rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches toward Bethlehem to be born, oh my goodness. Stay away from the news. You see rough beasts everywhere. There was an item in the news this week. Bill Maher, who is a man who makes a living by not being funny, being snarky and not funny, and Sam Harris were assailed by Ben Affleck, among others, for having non-idiotarian views on Islamofascism, political form of Islam, whatever benefits there are to be realized from Islam as a religion. Islam as a political movement has been a disaster from, not from Mecca, but from, how do you say it, Medina, I don't know how it's pronounced, but since Islam became a jihadi movement, a movement aimed at conversion by homicide, by threats of homicide and global domination in the form of a one world caliphate, much like one world Marxism. It is a pernicious thing, and I definitely support the anti-idiotarian arguments on this subject. Harris is unbelievably ill-equipped to take up this matter, having made war on free will for his entire, I don't want to call it an intellectual career because that would imply that there's something intellectual about denying free will, but that's what I want to talk about today. Not Harris as such, but the denial of free will. I think it's funny for Harris to complain that he's being mistreated by Ben Affleck when his entire argument is that Ben Affleck is incapable of being the author of his behavior in any way at all. And if Harris is objecting to Affleck, then they're both kittens mewling in a cardboard box, because according to Harris, neither one of them has any ability to initiate intentional purposive action, and neither one has the ability to object to the other, and both of their objections are equally meaningless. If you had kittens mewling in a cardboard box, or maybe better, dogs barking at each other from 3 blocks apart, it doesn't make any difference. It's all just noise. If you credit Harris's view, I don't, of course. I am perfectly willing to hold Sam Harris to account for his views because I believe he's responsible for them. I believe he chose them, and he could choose otherwise, voluntarily, not as a result of some sort of unhappy accident. video up this week. The 21 convention is doing videos promoting the speakers. I'll be speaking at the 21 convention exactly 2 weeks from today, 172 hours from now or so. I'm looking forward to it with a certain amount of trepidation. I know it'll be great. I know I will do well. I hope I'll do well. I believe I'll do well. And I know I'll have a great time. Whether I do well or not, I'll have fun. I'll enjoy myself. I have a wonderful time doing it. And in the meantime, I will spend a lot of time dreading it until I get to the point where I do it. And then when I do it, it's just like this. I'll just do it. And it'll be fun. It'll be great. But I will be talking about the implications of free will there in the context of Shiley's Delight. I want to talk about Shiley's Delight as my presentation to the 21 convention. But in the video that was released this week, I had just finished writing 9 Empathies, and I was elated, which is the way I get when I do that kind of work. You go back to the Church of Splendor while I was working on 9 Empathies. You can see it there while I was working on Shiley's Delight, for that matter, also. But I talked a lot about 9 Empathies, and in the video I mentioned that I was going to make it free that Friday, which is now a couple of months ago, or a month or two, in any case, a while ago. And so, in consequence, I've made the book available free today and tomorrow. It's October 12th today. It's Columbus Day. Tomorrow is October 13th. If you want to get 9 Empathies for Kindle for free, you can do that today and tomorrow. And I commend you to it. If you don't have a Kindle reader, you don't need it. You can get a Kindle app for your desktop, laptop, tablet, smartphone. If you're able to watch this movie, you can get a Kindle reader. And having the Kindle reader, then you can download the book for free. It's 99 cents anyway, so it's not like a huge savings, but 99 cents is a hurdle, obviously, given that the book isn't flying off the shelf, so let it fly off the shelf for free. And the theme of today's homily, this is the Church of Splendor, the theme of today's homily is Free the Earth 7 billion. Like Free the Chicago 7, Free the Earth 7 billion. And this is a lifelong goal of mine. I am a champion of free will, and one of the things you'll get when you read 9 Empathies is a defense of free will. In Man Alive, I also provide a very thoroughgoing defense of free will, and I think that the arguments against free will are all not uniformly but equally retarded. They're fundamentally useless because teleologically no one comports his behavior according to a disbelief in free will. That every theorist of any sort of determinist argument nevertheless has luggage tags on his luggage, on his bags, and those luggage tags are his insistence that the human will is free, that if the bag goes missing, someone can read the luggage tag and redirect it where it needs to go, and then dozens of people will establish a chain of custody over that bag until it gets back to the owner. And the mere fact of that luggage tag is proof enough that the alleged advocate for determinism does not believe that human behavior is determined, that it is unavoidably caused by prior physical causation or fundamentally random in consequence of quantum events or whatever, or biologically or neurochemically or economically determined. All of there are a zillion and one determinist arguments, and they're all equally specious. And their speciousness is easy enough to establish one by one just by picking them apart, which I do occasionally, not too often because it's a big waste of time, but every once in a while I will reach out and swat a fly just to get it out of my sight. But there's no real need to do that because we can establish with absolute certainty that no one who claims that he believes that human will is in some, or human behavior rather, is in some way deterministically caused, no one of those people actually believes that. The luggage tags prove it. Their responses to injury. My ideal scenario is to sit across a conference table from some idiot like Sam Harris and simply sit there and throw ping pong balls at his head until he begs me to stop. because begging me to stop will be his admission that I can stop, that he knows I can't stop, that he knows that I am throwing ping pong balls at his head on purpose by intention, and that I can change my purpose, I can change my intention. And having admitted that I can change my intention, he's admitting that my will is free, that it is free from causal constraints, that I can't cause myself to fly unaided, but I can certainly cause myself to say, hell no, I won't go. I can say, Molan Lave, come and get them, asshole. You want my weapons? Come and get them. We are free because we are indomitable. We are free because we are sovereign. Every organism is sovereign, is controlled solely from the inside out. But human beings are simultaneously sovereign and indomitable, and we are indomitable because we know we are sovereign. Unlike any other organism, we know consciously, conceptually, in abstract knowledge, that we are free from all external constraints, including threats. The threats that people are always using to try to pretend that they can control human behavior. We know that we're free of all of those things. And having that knowledge of our freedom, we are free to resist in any way we choose. You're free to initiate any action you want to, and free to resist any compulsion by which you are met, including, for instance, the compulsion of hunger. That if you are overweight and you insist that you're doomed to be overweight, you're incorrect. All you have to do is eat less, exercise more. It won't happen overnight, and if you want it to happen overnight, you're almost certain to fail. But if you're content to let it happen slowly, I talked about this a few weeks ago, change a few habits, and over time, the weight will drop away from your body. You cannot change your height. And not without surgery in any case. But you can certainly change your weight. And within the confines of things that are possible, your will is potent. It's not omnipotent, but it's potent. And every organism's will is potent in that respect. An organism can't choose to lose weight, but certainly your dog can choose to race after the rabbit. And if you happen to be attached to that dog by a leash, then you may end up chasing the rabbit too. I had a bloodhound, since deceased. His name was Odysseus, champion, an amazing dog. But if he decided to chase something and you didn't want to chase it with him, your option was either to let go of the lead or get dragged down the street, because he was a powerful, powerful dog, and there was nothing that you could do to stay his will once he had decided to express it. He couldn't decide intellectually, conceptually, but that's a distinction without a difference when you're being dragged down the blacktop. The dog pulled me over once, cracked my left elbow real good, just knocked me to the ground, and just attempting to leap towards something, and then immediately was diverted by something else, thank goodness, or I would have been dragged. But he put me to the ground, and two strapping young men in the Army Reserve were right there, fortunately, and were there to pick me up. I wasn't, had I been on the ground long enough, I certainly would have found my way back onto my feet, but they picked me up, and then I was able to stand there until my wife came with the car to take me to the hospital. I am persistently aghast at those kind of arguments. I cannot imagine what Harris thinks he hopes to achieve by simultaneously insisting that people should not be religious and insisting at the same time that they cannot make choices in their own behalf, that their choices are an illusion to themselves. What difference does it make if their religion, if their choices are meaningless? What difference does it make if someone says he's an atheist? What difference does it make? What difference does it make what sounds come out of a dog? If all we are dogs at most, or possibly just physical robots, then none of that matters. None of any of it matters. And of course, again, no one believes that. No one acts upon reality that way. And taking account of the way that people act, we are what we do, not what we say about it. Taking account of the way that people act, we can conclude that everyone believes in free will, and we know they do. And if you doubt it, take somebody's parking space. Throw a rock through their window. Throw ping pong balls at their heads. As soon as somebody says, please stop throwing those ping pong balls at my head, you know that he believes in free free will. And that I consider completely non-controversial. That there is a huge controversy over this, but it's all tax funded. Take away the tax dollars, and there wouldn't be any controversy. No one would talk about this at all. I reacted today to an article in Wired UK. Some dipshit tax-funded scientists insisting that the universe is a sim, and we hear this crap all the time. The universe is a hologram. M theory, string theory, multiverse, the idea that there are an infinite number of universes. Every possible way that everything could work out, however you describe it. I wrote a story about this a long time ago. I may post it this week. Every possible way that things could possibly work out, they do work out that way. And you think that there's only one universe because you're only aware of one. Well, we're all aware of the same one universe, and all the others are inconveniently unavailable for examination. Test of the independent observer, the principle of parsimony. There are all kinds of good logical reasons to reject those kind of arguments, but all of those logical reasons are basically map-based. The principle of parsimony, this is Occam's razor, entities must not be multiplied beyond necessity. Entities in that usage doesn't refer to physical objects, real entities. It refers to map markers. You shouldn't mess up your map with filigree. You shouldn't mess up your map with imaginary entities, which is a ridiculous statement. Imaginary entities doesn't mean anything, and an entity has to be real in order to be an entity. You could say that, I don't know how Ayn Rand reformulated Occam's razor as, she called it Rand's razor, which just basically amounted to trying to scratch off the serial numbers on Occam's razor. But what she said is concepts must not be multiplied beyond necessity, and that actually is a more useful formulation because it recognizes that what you're really talking about is maps and not reality. But the determinist argument invariably turns on the map also. M theory in particular, or the sim universe argument that was being made in this Wired UK article, all turn on the map also, that the insistence is that the map must be what our theories say it is. And therefore, the attempt is to circumscribe reality with the map, which is ridiculous. The map is not the territory, and if the territory does not correspond to the map, it's not the territory that's wrong. It's not reality that's wrong. It's the map that's wrong. And to insist that there must be an infinite number of universes, only one of which is apprehensible to the senses, this is completely nonsensical. There's no reason to believe this. But that's strictly a logical argument. It may in fact be true. Who could prove it one way or another, given that you can't escape this universe? Universe, the word universe is itself a map. Every word is a map, but universe means one turning. Universo. Universum. Having been turned around one thing. I don't know how to undo the Latin, how to unpack the Latin, but the implication is there's only one. And a way of understanding the word universe is all that exists. And everything that exists, there can only be one everything that exists. This is an attempt to circumscribe the universe with language, not in any kind of venal or inappropriate way, but simply because the map is not the territory. Regardless of how comprehensive our maps are, they still are not the territory, with one exception, the exception being the idea of the self, which I take up in 9 Empathies. But the map is not the territory, and if the map and the territory are not perfectly correspondent, it's the map that's wrong. And this is exactly the way that people behave, regardless of what they say about the map. This is exactly the way they behave, and that's how we can tell that everyone believes in the prior existence of existence, the prior existence of reality, and believes in the unhappy consequences that will ensue if you respond to reality inappropriately. Everyone, almost everyone, except for the insane, responds to reality the way it actually is, and accordingly they thrive where they would certainly perish if they operated on the teleology implied by the nonsense metaphysical theories that they claim to believe in. Sam Harris is funny because his entire career consists of an attempt to recreate the insane experiences he had while using drugs. Most hippies are burnouts, some are PhDs. that. I find myself very frustrated, though, because while everyone does accept the prior existence of reality, the nature of identity and causality, the nature of human will, the recognition that the human will is free, everyone accepts all of these facts, and yet they insist on pretending that they don't. And it's not just the idiots like Sam Harris who do this, it's virtually all of us. I equated the way that people approach real life as being obsessively focused on the dump, on garbage, on shit and garbage. And if you go and read, for instance, go and read plot summaries of movies, just read one after another, and just split them into two categories: shit worshipping versus life worshipping. 9 to 1 at least, maybe 99 to 1, maybe 999 to 1. It's very rare to find any sort of life affirming, life worshipping message in any product of popular art, and it is no trouble at all to find shit worship every possible way, whether it's actual shit worship, the actual worship of degradation, or simply the inane focus on outlier phenomena, or the worship of deliberate self-mystification, as with theories of determinism. So my project, my lifelong project, could easily be summarized as free the Earth's 7 billion. And the way that you will be free is by turning away from the shit and garbage and looking on the paradise that is your life instead. And turning away means letting go of the idea that the universe is something that's out there that happens to you, and acknowledging that the universe of your own life, the universe of your experience, originates inside here and emanates outward. You find the universe you're looking for because the thing that's looking for that universe is looking from in here, and it's looking for it relentlessly. If you're looking for mystification, you will find it. If you're looking for shit and garbage, you will find it. But no amount of the worship of the zero or the worship of the negative will produce the values that you need and want to survive as a human being. And by contrast, accepting your potency as a human being, not impotence, not omnipotence, your potency as a human being, accepting that fact of reality and responding to it accordingly, is how you will achieve splendor. It's how you will achieve every value that you want in your life. And there's no other way to do that. That whatever, whether it's a mystic in a church or a mystic in a university classroom, there is no way in the world that mysticism of any sort or anti-objectivity, anti-reality, any sort of anti-humanistic, anti-free will argument of metaphysics, there's no way that you can achieve what you want by pursuing those ideas. You can only achieve the things that you want by betraying those ideas. And my attitude would be that any idea that you have to betray in order to stay alive is false. Again, that's a map-based argument. It's a logic-based argument. But if you want to prove to me that your mind is impotent to guide your behavior, that you don't have any choice, I can work that out for you too. All you have to do is let me blindfold you. I won't trust you to blindfold yourself, but let me blindfold you, and then I'll take you. You can do it in downtown Phoenix. We don't have to go to downtown Manhattan. You can do it in downtown Phoenix where there's not much traffic, but all you have to do is just walk around in downtown Phoenix for a day, completely blindfolded. And if you can manage to get that done without getting killed, then I'll believe you have some extra physical way of managing things, or that physics doesn't matter. Whatever claim you want to make, whatever idiot claim you intend to make, you can prove it to me. All you have to do is not get killed walking around in traffic blindfolded. I find these ideas unbelievably stupid, and it's easy for me to criticize them, and it's easy for me to kind of get worked up criticizing them, but all of that is useless. It is ultimately useless. And this is one of the things that is annoying to me, like the shit worship in popular media, is the shit worship in popular nonfiction, in the ways that we go about engaging in the conversation of civilization is always negative, always external. It's always the universe is happening to me. I'm not happening to the universe. And these ideas are false. They're useless. They are fundamentally teleologically useless because they cannot lead you toward your values. They cannot lead you toward splendor. Whereas accepting the reality of what you are as a potent agent in a malleable universe, in a world that can be made the way you want it to be, accepting the fact of that reality and responding accordingly is how you'll get what you want. I want you to spread that idea. 9 Empathies is free today. It's a good place to start. Man Alive is free every day at selfadoration.com. A very good place to start. A very good description of your mind and yourself and the way they work, the way they actually work, and the way that they must work, and the way that they will work, regardless of what you say about it, and how to go about accepting the fact of your agency, the fact of your free will, and responding accordingly. You can have both those books free today, tomorrow. On the 14th, the 9 Empathies goes back to 99 cents. You'll have to dig deep and find a whole buck to buy it. But I want these ideas propagated. I want these ideas shared, and I especially want them shared outside the United States. The United States is decadent. Western Europe is decadent. The entire historic West, the West writ large, is decadent and may well slip into collapse before we rediscover the principles that got us here. But in the Southern Hemisphere and the Eastern Hemisphere, there are places where the West is very much alive, and I want my ideas propagated in those places, because if we do collapse here, it'll be those places that dig us out. So if you're watching this today or on the 13th, go grab 9 Empathies for free and tell all your friends to do the same, and then read it. Read, mark, learn, and inwardly digest. Review it on Amazon, on Goodreads, on your website. Review it anywhere you can. Books live and die on buzz. Please make some. But really, learn it, live it, love it. Live it from the inside out. If you learn to think the way I think, you'll start talking about splendor too. But more importantly, you'll be living it all the time from the inside out. I want to share ideas so that people can maunder senselessly about my ideas the way they maunder senselessly about Sam Harris or some other moron. I want you to share my ideas so that you can live them. Live them better than me. Learn them better than me. Teach them back to me better than I know them. Teach them to your children and have your children live them better than you do, and have their children live them better than they do. Which is the history of the West, is we started with great ideas and they just kept getting better until they suddenly got worse. This is the renaissance of the human mind. It starts with you, not with me, with you. You are the pioneer who will reestablish Western civilization, whether you're in the United States or in the Southern Hemisphere and the Eastern Hemisphere. You are the pioneer who will re-civilize the world. It's a big responsibility. Thank goodness you're so smart. My name is Greg Swann. This is the Church of Splendor, atheist, egoist, anarchist. Adamantly pro-free will, pro-family, pro-self. Thanks so much for your time, for your attention. I'll talk to you next week.